This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. Native women gathered at the New Mexico legislature Friday for Indigenous Women's Day to honor missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Native women's advocates and state lawmakers were among speakers at the event. A bill involving missing and murdered Indigenous women passed the New Mexico Senate Friday. It supports U.S. New Mexico Representative Deb Haaland's call for a national investigation on the issue. New Mexico state lawmakers are also seeking to create a task force. A bill is making its way in the House, seeks to create the group to look at ways to increase state resources and identify barriers. Bills on missing and murdered Indigenous women are making their way in legislatures in other states, including Utah and Arizona. No Omaha police officers will be convicted in the death of Zachary Bearheels, a mentally ill Native man who was beaten and died while in police custody in Omaha, Nebraska in June 2017. Prosecutors announced Friday they will not move forward with the case against former police officer Ryan McClarty, doubting the office could obtain a guilty verdict, the Omaha World Herald reports. In December, former officer Scotty Payne was acquitted for his involvement. The Native community is expressing outrage that no officers will be held accountable for the death. Tribal leaders and Native advocates have been calling for justice. They've been asking for the city to work on improving relations with Native people. Bearheels was traveling between South Dakota and Oklahoma when he was kicked off a bus and spent hours wandering streets before the officer-involved incident, where he was repeatedly shocked with a taser and punched. The Gila River Indian community in Arizona welcomed state officials and congressional representatives to its community Friday. The tribe opened the Mar 5 Interpretive Trail, which is part of a managed aquifer recharge project. The system captures water and stores it. The tribe, state, and other stakeholders are working on such water management and conservation projects. The Iditarod sled dog race kicked off in Anchorage with the ceremonial start over the weekend. Alaska Native mushers are among the more than 50 teams racing 1,000 miles to Nome. Pete Kaiser from Bethel was second in the race as of Monday morning. The Yellowstone Art Museum's newest artist in residence, Ben Pease, is Crow in Northern Cheyenne, a multimedia artist who strives to make people question what they see in his art. Kayla DeRoche stopped by his studio at the museum in Billings, Montana.
Ben Pease draws a leaping horse on the wall of his studio in black marker. Historically, he explains, Native Americans drew similarly stylized figures on deer or buffalo hides in order to depict dream states or experiences. He says Native American artists eventually started creating ledger art on cast-off papers instead.
There's a number of different stories about not having the right to travel off your land to hunt or fish. And then there's other stories about certain peoples being in confinement and starting ledger art.
And like these artists did in the past, Pease sometimes draws and paints on top of 19th century paper. Many of his pieces are heavily steeped in history and reference Native American experience. Some address Indigenous images in American pop culture, others missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. It takes more than a glance to absorb all the elements of his pieces. He says he hopes his art makes people think.
I just want people to walk away with half a question mark in their head.
Pease will spend a year as the Yellowstone Art Museum's artist-in-residence until November 2019. For National Native News, I'm Kayla DeRoche.
And I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Support by Ramona Farms, offering wholesome and delicious foods from our heirloom crops as our contribution to a better diet for the benefit of all people. We are honored to share our centuries-old farming and culinary traditions online at ramonafarms.com. Support by the Travoy Indian Country Affordable Housing and Economic Development Conference starting April 9th in Miami, Florida. Discounted hotel rooms available through March 15th. Qualifying attendee info at travois.com/annual-conference.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.